I'm honored to be a part of OCLF yet again because I've been a part since the advent of this literature festival. So I can say I have a promotion from being a volunteer to a moderator now. And so I'm honored for that position here. But today, as we have Swaima ma'am here with us, so who will talk about confidence, leadership skills, and public speaking mostly. So without further ado, I'll just, with all your hope and support from everybody from you, I'll just start the discussion with her. So Swaima ma'am, as we all know, that you are a public speaker. You've had a great experience in public speaking, but how did you begin your journey with it? So if you could just enlighten us with the journey you had, so please.
To begin with, it's a cheerful welcome I bring to all of you. It's delightful for us to see the audience turning up in large numbers for this session. So thank you so much to all of you. And we'll definitely endeavor to add a value and meaning to your mindset, to your insights on public speaking and confidence building today. Thank you, Alok sir, for your magnanimity. So the question about my journey. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my journey began way back when I was in 8th grade. I was primarily suffering from facial paralysis. It's called Bell's palsy. And I remember going through this phase of tremendous physiotherapy and heavy antibiotics for almost a year. We'll discuss this later when we have these questions. But then my journey as a public speaker primarily began as a defense mechanism. You know, I wanted to really fight back. I wanted to really speak up. And I happened to participate in a competition very randomly in divisional LIC office in an extempore speech competition. And that's exactly where my journey began, honestly. And today when I look back, I feel it's truly in the moments of adversity that you find your calling. You know, so that's how my journey began way back in 8th grade. And by the time I was in the final year of my graduation, I had the honor of winning 500 plus oratory competitions. I had the honor of representing India at the International Youth Festivals twice as an Indian delegate, exclusively for oratory events. And right now, I am a public speaking coach. I train students across the world in public speaking and communication skills, primarily from US, Canada, Middle East, and Europe. And it's always an honor for me to be here sharing my insights with you, because for me, my mission is to help you reach the world class in your professional lives through the power of communication.
So how you spoke about your career building, how you overcame your fears. Right in 8th grade, you found your niche for public speaking. That's I should say rare for all of us, because for personally me, I found my niche for public speaking back in my law college, the first year of my law college, when I was pushed in the high court for my first debate competition. So, but then again, when we talk about confidence building, I think soft skills is one of the very important aspects that we need to first nurture, and then we can take up like public speaking. That is where we can excel it, I feel. So what is your take on soft skills and how we can nurture or how we can build it?
So that's a very interesting question, Riddhi. Thank you. I personally believe that soft skills is something that most of us turn a blind eye to. Now, in this world of cutthroat competition, we have a plethora of avenues coming up. We have kids aspiring to take up a plethora of career options, and we've heard of careers that we never heard almost a decade ago. So I believe the dire need of the hour, my dear friends, is to understand the fact that somehow soft skills and hard skills go hand in hand. According to very interesting research by Harvard Business Review, it said that 85% of your success in your career is attributed to your soft skills, and the remaining 15% to your hard skills. Now, how do we basically define hard skills and soft skills? So hard skills basically are the set of skills that you require to excel in your career, primarily the technical skills. Now, on the other hand, all the skills related to your behavior, to your personality, to your confidence, can be categorized as soft skills. So that could be your goal setting, your decision-making ability, your critical thinking, your confidence, your communication skills, your people skills, your social skills. So any life skill, basically, pertaining to your behavior. Now, I think what we can do as parents and teachers right now at this junction is to help our kids, our Gen Z, understand the importance of learning soft skills at this age. You need not come to your engineering college or management college or medical college and then take up courses on soft skills or participate in competitions or be a part of events that contribute to your overall soft skills skill set. What we need to do right now is help our younger generation, understand the significance and ignite in them the passion to learn soft skills. So as mentioned earlier, so the way you convey your messages, the way people interpret your messages. So we need to understand that soft skills, of course, it's a comprehensive domain, but your communication, your public speaking skills, my dear participants, form the very DNA of your soft skills. And that's something we need to do at this junction. As they say, awareness is the beginning of transformation. We need to start becoming aware of the fact that soft skills are the need of the hour. No matter what competition we face today, no matter how, the AI is accelerating. If there's something AI can never probably, overtake or, compete with, it's your personality. It's your soft skills. That's something you can always have an edge on with. So that's something I believe in, Riddhi.
Absolutely true. When you spoke about Gen Zs and the AI, so I see kids these days, like I myself feel old on this topic, that I'm not acquainted to ChatGPT and AI. And when I see younger people using AI tools for marking up their debate scripts, or even for us lawyers, we see people using their AI tools for marking up their, arguments in front of the court. So that is not effective, I feel. Like, that does not evolve you as an effective speaker. So what are your notions, or what are the secrets that you have when we talk about public speaking as an aspect? But then it has to be effective also. So what are your notions on effective speaking as a public speaker?
Right. Very interesting and insightful question as well. We have a lot of, I see college-going students over here who aspire to become public speakers, who aspire to make a name in the public speaking domain. So talking about the baby steps you can take, my dear participants, at this junction, no matter what you aspire to become, if you really want to ace public speaking, some of the basic things we can do right now, number one, extensive reading. Right, extensive reading. When I say that, you need to understand, no matter how effectively you speak, your knowledge bank is your power. Right, what you really share, your content is the crown as a public speaker, as a debater, as an anchor, as a trainer, as a coach. So you need to start developing your knowledge bank, right? What is it you're keenly interested in? What's your passion? What's your calling? What's your niche? I would say sub-niche. Today we have so many niches out there. Select your sub-niche and start building your knowledge bank on it. What do you really want to speak about? Is it law? Is it education? Is it career building? Is it fashion designing? Is it social service? Is it AI? What exactly is your sub-niche? That's the question, right? That's your knowledge bank, number one. And after this, what you need to start understanding is the way you reach out to people. So I have been conducting an umpteen number of workshops on public speaking, and one thing I always share with my audience about public speaking is the best way to decode public speaking, to deconstruct public speaking, is to understand the foundation. Right, the foundation of public speaking. And the foundation comprises of what I call the 3 V's of communication. Right, the 3 V's, some of you may have heard of it. Let me just quickly throw light on it. Number 1, your verbal communication. Your verbal communication, which is nothing but your content. What exactly are you speaking about? And is your content adding value to the knowledge that your audience has? Right, your verbal communication, which also includes your vocabulary, your grammar, your syntax, and the way you reach out. So any communication pertaining to words, is verbal, right? So developing your knowledge bank, number one. Number two, making sure that your language, your linguistic skills are in sync with your passion for public speaking. If you're somebody who has a command over English, Hindi, Marathi, any language you're speaking in, you definitely have the brownie points with you. Right? So making sure you're also working on your linguistic skills. Now, I remember way back in my school days participating in some of the most prominent debates in the city, Munshi Memorial. I see a lot of students from Bhavans here. You know, we have so many competitions happening right now at the school level. And then, of course, gradually moving on to college level. So these competitions give you a chance to understand the way you've got to research about a topic. Right, the way you filter your content, the way you really prepare your contentions for an argument. So it's high time you start understanding that exploration is the key. Right? No matter how effectively you communicate, if you don't give yourself a chance to speak up, then probably it's difficult to ace the domain of public speaking, right? So make sure that you grab every opportunity that comes your way, right? No matter how small the opportunity is. You don't need 10,000 people in front of you. You don't have to be a TEDx speaker to be a good speaker, right? Even a normal communication in front of probably 10 people is public speaking. And what you need to do is grab the opportunity. Even as a professional, if you have a chance to speak probably in front of 10 employees, that's again a golden opportunity for you, right? So that's verbal communication, the first one. The second one, my dear participants, is something that we call vocal communication. And as the name suggests, vocal is something pertaining to your voice, right? Now, you need not be a RJ or a DJ or a voiceover artist to master vocal communication. You've got to understand the basics of voice modulation, the basics of vocal variety, your pitch, pace, pause, and your volume. Right? Understanding the basics of vocal variety can eventually can accelerate your public speaking journey, right? Your vocal skills, your vocal communication. Number three, my dear participants, the 3 V's I was discussing. The first V is verbal. Second V is vocal. The third V is what we call visual communication. Now, that's a game changer. According to a research, it said that your visual communication accounts to 55% of success in your communication. Right? 55%. That's massive. So we understand the fact that your visual communication is nothing but your body language. Everything you do from top to toe, your eye contact, your facial expressions, your hand movements, your torso, your feet direction, the way you sit, the way you reach out to people. If you have a mediocre body language, people tend to get distracted every time you speak. And somehow your message here is sidelined and you succumb to the mediocrity. So understanding that the best way to start your public speaking journey right now, no matter what age group you belong to, no matter what age bracket you belong to, is to start relentlessly, ruthlessly working at your verbal, visual, and vocal skills.
Absolutely. I can't agree more to what you said, because I remember back in my school days, I was being told by my mentor that even if you fumble, even if you stop anything, just speak. And no matter what, you don't have to satisfy the audience, but satisfy yourself that you have done a good job. So there was one aspect that was right there in my head. But then today we have, with like maximum I see is youth and the school-going children that we have. So how can they embark on their public speaking journey right from their school times? So if you can just give a few tips to them, that would be really great.
Right. So I would like to extend my previous answer, just adding a few more insights to it. So talking about my journey, I remember 8th grade, I actually went to participate in a painting competition at the LIC divisional office. And we had some time basically for the prize distribution to begin. And my dad simply wanted me to capitalize, this opportunity and just go and speak up. There was another competition happening simultaneously. It was the speech competition, on-spot speech competition. We call it extempore speech. So I still remember I was suffering from Bell's palsy, owing to which my pronunciation wasn't very clear, wasn't very coherent. So imagine somebody speaking, you're speaking with half of your facial muscles paralyzed. So the pronunciation is not very clear. You're struggling and you have your self-esteem issues at that point of time. But somehow, with that perpetual insistence from my dad, I decided to go just pick up a chit, see what topic I get. I'm going to go on stage, introduce myself, share my topic, say thank you, and come back. At least I'm going to come back with a state-level participation certificate, you know. That was something I had in the back of my mind. And I still remember that moment, nerve-wracking moment. I was on stage, and the topic I received back then was, God helps those who help themselves. Now, generally what schools do is we try to give proverbial topics for competitions like these. You know, proverbial topics are easy to actually speak on. You can add your personal anecdotes to them. You can throw light on them and eventually have something inspiring to share at the end. So we generally have these proverbial themes for speaking events. Now, I remember going on stage and contrary to my plan, I actually started to speak on the topic. Now, I shared my journey, my battle with facial paralysis. I shared my conversation with my physiotherapist who told me, if Swaima, if you give up, if you succumb to the pressure, we seriously cannot do anything extraordinary. You know, you'll have to do something about this. You just can't stay back at home and say, I'm just waiting for my recovery. You'll have to do something here. Just go out there, explore, speak up, talk, and maybe you'll somehow shake hands with this, with facial paralysis, because even if you overcome this, you won't have a complete recovery. You will still have partial traces left. So I remember sharing exactly this conversation with my audience, talking about the significance of actually taking charge, being the CEO of your life and not really waiting for circumstances to work in your favor. And a very, very, heart-to-heart conversation with the audience. Just poured my heart out, shared a couple of, maybe quotes at the end on the particular theme, God helps those who help themselves. And I came back. And I remember the prize distribution ceremony, my dear participants. I was expecting the first prize in the painting competition, and I ended up getting nothing in the painting competition. And on the contrary, I happened to win the first prize in the extempore speech competition. For a moment, I was taken aback because the girl who had won every, school city-level speaking competition stood second. And all of us were flabbergasted. And I think that was one moment that truly transformed my outlook towards life, And I realized that it's truly the self-education that you go through, the way you empower yourself, So your self-education is truly the foundation of any meaningful transformation in life. And that's the reason today, one of the strongest messages that I advocate to my students when I teach public speaking to them is grab every opportunity that comes your way. Every speaking contest, elocution, debate, For that matter, we have moot courts these days for kids. We have MUNs, incredible opportunity for you to develop your holistic communication skill set through MUNs, right? So that's one thing kids can do right now. Take part in competitions. Number 2, analyze your performances. Try watching, a video of your speech, your presentation maybe, and try gauging your performance, try understanding where exactly I went wrong. How can I improve my performance next time? Something like, maybe you can try identifying the brownie points. What exactly have you done right here? Try going an extra mile in terms of your research. We know there's information pollution out there today. How do you filter your information? How do you really frame your contentions, your opening, your body, your conclusion? It's a Herculean task. So knowing how to research and eventually filter your content, audience analysis, analyzing your audience, right? Understanding what exactly the audience wants to hear, the age bracket of the audience. So I generally deconstruct audience analysis as, so just look at the spelling. So audience A, age bracket. U, understand their needs. What do they really need at that point of time? D for demographics. Where do they come from? Right? Maybe their social circle, maybe their region, religion, etc., etc. It's demographics. Okay? So I for their interests. What exactly is your audience interested in? E for expectations. What exactly is the audience expecting to hear from you? And how do you actually go beyond their expectations sometimes? Right? N again here for necessity. What is the necessity of the occasion? Are you really speaking on the theme given to you? Are you illustrating, or are you probably going off track? So necessity of the moment, right? C here is for concern. Be concerned about your audience. Now, no matter how monstrous you find your audience to be, eventually the audience sitting right there to listen to you because they respect you. right? And how do you really make that moment an investment for them, an emotional investment for them? How do you really make a difference to their lives? So be concerned about your audience. And last but not the least, E, I think that is the cherry on the cake. It's your enthusiasm as a speaker. Right? If you're somebody who's lethargic while speaking, sluggish while speaking, it's difficult for the audience to connect with you, because let's remember, human beings are primarily emotional and not logical. So no matter how many facts you bombard your audience with, if you are not emotionally connecting with them, if your enthusiasm at that point of time is not up to the mark, not exceptional, then, well, you'll have to pull up your socks. Right? So audience, A-U-D-I-E-N-C-E. I generally teach audience analysis through the spelling, So let's learn audience analysis while, climbing the steps of a public speaker, while you start your public speaking journey. And of course, analysis, like I mentioned, right? Relentless self-excavation is the key. So these are some of my basic tips for the young audience I have with me. Most of them are I think, successful manners here. Right? You've been participating continuously. So please let's make sure that we keep up this. We ignite the spark and we keep it alive, And I don't think you have something called the best. That's a myth. Best in your domain. That's a myth, we know. Because eventually, if you're somebody who's continuously self-excavating, you know that the opportunities are limitless. The opportunities to improve are limitless. Right? Thank you. Thank you, Riddhi.
Absolutely. So, now we spoke about the younger youth here. But then when we talk about the children and the school-going kids these days, I feel teachers do have a role, but more than the teachers and the other people at the school, the parents have a role in it much more than the others. So how can a parent be helpful in its child being a public speaker? Or how you told your story, that your father kept encouraging you to go and speak up. So how does it come to the, what approaches can a parent adopt for its child to just go there and be a public speaker? If not a public speaker, at least start with the journey of it.
So I would say public speaking still comes later on. As parents, what we really want for our children right now is confidence. We want our children to be self-assured. I have a daughter who's 2 years old right now, and sometimes my husband and I are so concerned about the competitive world we're living in right now. So many avenues out there, and how do you really help your child probably carve a name for himself or herself in this world? So I think one thing as parents we can do to empower our children for tomorrow, for the careers of tomorrow, for the new age careers. Number one is, I would say, that may sound cliched, but this is something that's worked for us, and I'm sure it's a very pragmatic technique: reading. Connecting your child with books. So as parents, as working parents, all of us, we're leading supremely busy lives. And very difficult for us to really allot maybe even half an hour to our children to have a fulfilling conversation with them. But I feel somehow you need to have these unplugged hours at your home. Unplugged hours wherein you are away from the distraction. You're not connected to any device, and you're actually sitting and reading books to the children. You're reading to them. Now, my daughter, who's 2 years old, extremely fond of books. And so she's trying to, she's learning to speak sentences right now, but really understands everything. We speak in English as well as in Hindi. And she would never sleep without, listening to a story, even though she understands partially what we're actually speaking to her. So I think somehow, no matter how many flashcards you buy for your kids, your toddlers, or how many fancy gadgets you buy for them, or how many TV shows you expose them to, or how many YouTube channels you expose them to, what we need primarily is exposing our children to the wonderful world of books. Introducing them to what exactly knowledge on paper looks like, in print looks like. That's one thing we need to do. Number one, unplugged hours with the children. Number two, actually communicating with them. Because I think the beginning of conversation skills, the beginning of communication skills, as they say, charity begins at home, again begins at home. So the conversation you have with your kids, how do you really communicate? So a simple question like, what exactly did you do today? Will somehow, I would say, encourage your child to speak up. about what's happened throughout the day, his or her whereabouts, his interactions with people, his learnings that day. What's something like, what exactly is, what's the most exciting thing that happened today, will actually ignite your child to speak up. You've got to ask thought-provoking questions that begin the journey of conversational skills, because today we know somehow physical communication has taken a back seat. So it's high time we revive this through basic conversational skills. And we know it's not rocket science. All of us can do that, right? Basic communication. I remember attending this very interesting program called The Prodigy Child. This was a week-long program wherein the parents of the toddlers were acquainted with what exactly they could do right now to make sure they children are good communicators. And I remember with a lot of neurosciences backup, the speaker sharing with us what exactly is the power of conversation with your child. Basic conversation, right? Even with your teenagers for that matter. So let's try to spark, ignite the spark of conversational skills by having this conversation with our children at home, encouraging them to read books, and eventually making sure they embrace failures. So I remember way back in my college days coming back home, and the moment I stood second in any competition, I would be raving and ranting throughout the day. What exactly went wrong? And I remember my dad asking me not to participate, if I'm not able to embrace failures. If you're not able to accept the fact that somebody else spoke better than I did, maybe in some aspect. It could be in content, in terms of information, in terms of arguments, in terms of body language, anything. Then he said, you'll have to accept the fact that there'll be somebody better than you. So teaching our children to embrace failures. Teaching them it's okay to fail, right? Because eventually they've tried, they've endeavored, they stood there, they spoke up. So somehow the essence of public speaking lies in the fact that you overcome your fear. It's impossible to eliminate the fear of public speaking, So when you come on stage, sometimes you have the butterflies in your stomach. There are times you have the whole zoo in your stomach. And it's so natural. You cannot eliminate your fear of public speaking, but you can manage it. There are different ways of managing your fear. So learning fear management, which of course comes with practice. So teaching our children the power to participate, explore, and eventually embrace failures can actually work wonders and help us probably excel in teaching these basic skill sets for future to our children.
Correct. When we talk, you spoke about that you need to come to a consensus with yourself when it comes to failures. And I absolutely agree because, personally, my experience goes I participated in 8 moot courts, won 4 of them, but the remaining 4 of them, I was in such a bad state. But then the 5th moot court, I came to a consensus with myself that there are other better teams. And we have to accept the fact that not every time we can be the best. But then this part of self-assurance that comes to us. So how can the people or how can our audience just have, if you can share your insights on how can we have that self-assurance or come to that consensus with ourselves, with failures, or as we can say, that we can be a part of the mediocre part of the society as well when it comes to public speaking. So how can you share your insights on it?
Right. So that's a very interesting question. And I'm somebody who's always believed in the idea of task confidence versus overall self-confidence. Now, none of us sitting over here can be super rock-solid confident all the time. Right? We have to categorize confidence into something called task confidence. So if somebody is able to ace a particular task, you're task confident. You can't expect to be rock solid confident in all the seasons. Right? Of course, you have your own days wherein you're simply rejuvenating yourself, you're resting, and then you bounce back. So we have to understand that there's something we need to nurture, and that's task confidence. And where does task confidence come from? Your preparation. So your preparation is the key. So one thing we can do to make sure we're confident and self-assured is make sure we're investing the right amount of time in preparing for something. So maybe if it's a speaking event or an anchoring assignment or maybe a voice-over assignment, anything pertaining to speaking, let's understand the fact that preparing forms the very foundation of your success here. So your preparation is the key, which eventually eliminates somehow your fear of failure. which eliminates your fear of the audience as well, which eliminates any kind of fear that you feel could actually bog you down. So preparation, when I say preparation, it could be in terms of content, in terms of how you rehearse. It could be in terms of, cross-checking your facts in your speech and debates and presentations. So your preparation is the key. Apart from this, after I completed, so I'm still a student, I'm a PhD scholar right now, and my subject of research is rhetorics. So rhetorics basically is the language of persuasion in speaking and writing. So we have something called the logos, pathos, and ethos. So rhetorics basically comprise of logos, pathos. That's a quick insight on this, and then we'll move on. So logos basically is logic. So if you want your communication to be persuasive, if you want to be self-assured, if you want to be confident, if you want to really embrace failure, let's understand you've got to make sure during your preparation, you have logic in your content, right? Logic. When I say logic, it could be in terms of your quotes, your phrases, your anecdotes, your success stories, your statements, your verbatims, everything you're sharing, your case studies as well here, right? Number 2, logos, pathos. Pathos, your passion. How passionate you are. Let me relate this to my previous answer, your enthusiasm as a speaker. How do you relate with the audience here? How passionate you are about the subject you're speaking on. So that's your pathos, your passion. And your ethos. Ethos basically is your ethics. In other words, your credibility. So if you're someone who's already built a credibility with the audience, why is that we have an anchor introducing the guest speaker every time we have an event like this? To build the credibility. So that the audience knows, we can count on this person because this person is worthy of it. That's building credibility, right? So how do you build credibility with your audience? Through the ethics, So probably if you're somebody who's already occupying a particular position, you automatically have that credibility built. If you're somebody who's sharing really interesting insights with the audience, something eye-opening, something mind-boggling, something game-changing, that's again building credibility, right? So let's understand logos, pathos, ethos, again, form the very foundation of your confidence as a speaker. Now, after I finished my second post-graduation, I was officially not allowed to participate in the university competitions anymore. I've been a university representative for 7 years, representing Nagpur University in all kinds of elocutions, debates, presentation competitions, and after which I got a chance to be a trainer. So I've had the honor of working with, as a trainer with Dell, ITC, Cello, Luxor, Horlicks, etc. And I felt all the lessons, all my learnings during my college days really, really amped up my skills as a trainer as well, as a coach as well. So one thing I feel that participants need to remember when they go out to participate, when they go out to explore this domain, is it's not just about communication. It's also about, imagine meeting up participants, your competitors, the organizers, the environment, how conducive that is for experiential learning, right? So you're learning your people skills here. You're learning leadership skills here. You're learning your social skills here. You're learning critical thinking. You're learning how to make effective decisions here. So somehow all the soft skills, can be manifested on the grounds of public speaking. And that's something we have to understand, that these are the, you can say, offshoots of being a public speaker. So that's something we need to understand, my dear participants, that as a public speaker, you have to look at that environment of speaking as a breeding ground for leadership. You're meeting up people out there. So when you go out for an event, remember you're going there to learn and not to compete. Because every team, every participant who comes there to speak will eventually empower you with a lesson you'll never forget. And will add to your growth in multiple, multifarious manners. So that's it, Riddhi.
Yeah. So in between, you spoke about you working with Cello, Horlicks, and Luxor. So can you share your experience or what you took from that experience of yours? How is it working there? And what was the difference between all these organizations that you worked with?
So I believe as a trainer, so I can relate this answer. Let's just add it, make it more meaningful. If we have audience here looking up to, looking forward to opportunities of training, coaching. Because we know the industry of training and coaching right now is mushrooming. We've seen the last few years have been probably the most phenomenal years for public speakers, trainers, coaches, especially post-lockdown. We've heard of coaches we've never heard before, right? Happiness coaches. Right? So, these are some of the bizarre concepts, but actually, we need to understand the fact that training and coaching is the need of the hour. And my experiences with these corporates, my experiences have been tremendous. And one thing I've learned here is, of course, the work ethics. You're empowered with some of the best work ethics here. And as trainers and coaches, if you're somebody as a student aspiring to make it big in a training industry or a coaching industry, I think the best thing to do right now is to, of course, start working on your sub-niche. There's a very interesting TED talk by George Kaufman who talks about the 70,000 hours of genius, and who says if you really want to become a master of your craft, then you need to be somebody who's investing 70 hours of learning. Let's just break it down to maybe next 5 years, probably 90 minutes every day. Let's start investing in learning, which eventually will form your arsenal when you go out there and train your audience, your target audience. So one thing that will empower you is, number one, investing in your learning, your self-education. Try grabbing every opportunity you get in terms of podcasts, conferences, seminars, webinars. Note making will eventually come to your rescue. Remembering the fact that making notes, they say writing, is simply like journaling on paper, meditating on paper, right? So that's the kind of meditation you do when you're journaling, when you're actually writing on paper. So let's understand note making again will be one of your best weapons here. And that's how I boil it down to. So as a trainer coach, you have to understand the fact that your consistency is the mother of mastery. You've got to be very consistent with the efforts you put in, no matter what niche or sub-niche you're talking about. You've got to be very, very consistent. So start gaining your knowledge bank, building your knowledge bank, accelerating it, expanding it, and then you eventually move on to reaching out to your target audience. And that also leads to building your network. Right? Network building, again, the need of the hour today. So connecting with the right people, getting to learn from them, learning from your mentors, identify who your mentors can be right now. Being a mentor yourself and mentoring your juniors will actually help you excel in your interest as a trainer coach. So that's what I feel, Riddhi.
Yeah. So initially, when you were answering, you spoke about TED Talks. And why should we miss, but you yourself as a TEDx speaker. So can you share your experience with the audience? How was it? What was your central theme of the topic that you were talking about? So if you can share your insights and experience about being a TEDx talker, because that I feel is a very great deal these days.
Right, thank you, Riddhi. So, as we know, TED basically is an organization. TED stands for Technology, Education, Design. So initially, we only had speakers who spoke about technology, education, design. But today, anybody who's able to, somebody who's doing well in his career, if you're somebody who's very passionate about something, and if you're somebody who really wants to go out and share some interesting insights with people, you are a potential TEDx speaker, right? And we have a lot of organizations these days, local organizations organizing TEDx. So my experience is I've spoken twice, one at TEDx Nagpur and the other one at TEDx HR College Mumbai. And let me talk about my latest experience. So the theme of my talk during my latest talk was Becoming Forever Fierce, in which I walked my audience through the 4 tools of leading an epic life. So I wanted to expand the horizons of my experiences, not limiting myself to only public speaking or communication skills. I talked about the 4 C's of leading an epic life. So number 1, we began with the first C was your confidence. So basics, how do you build up your confidence as an individual? Some tools to actually leading a confident life. And of course, we discussed the concept of task confidence as well. The second one was your commitment, your relentless commitment to learning, or your relentless commitment to what you're doing right now. I tried differentiating, the 2 concepts of interests and passion. How do you become passionate and not just interested? So the second was confidence. First was confidence, second was commitment. Number 3, we discussed in detail about the power of communication skills and how your communication can actually spearhead your trajectory of life. And number 4 was compassion. So how you can make sure that as a public speaker, you are not just an agent of change, you're an ambassador of compassion as well, because you're reaching out to people. So this was the gist of my talk, Riddhi. And my previous talk was exclusively on public speaking. And to be very honest, everything I shared with my audience right now since the beginning was exactly my talk.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Like you sharing your experiences, first-hand experience that you have with, and connecting with the audience mostly is what I think gives you that satisfaction that you have done a good job while in your public speaking. So the last question for this session for today, I think we should wrap up, is that is there one single thing that you can relate to being the game changer for you in aspect of public speaking or building up your confidence?
All right, so one game-changing move we can make right now at this junction would be, I would say, being consistent in your efforts. You know, we call it the marginal improvement. We also call it the daily incremental growth. We call it the compound effect overall, you know, of the efforts you're putting in. So, my dear boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, to wrap up the session, I would say one of the most game-changing moves we can make right now at this junction is making sure that we're putting in the effort every single day. Right? You're putting in some effort every single day. Let's not make it a 9 days wonder. A lot of us hear somebody speak and then we try doing it maybe for next couple of days and then somehow it just takes a flight of fancy. Let's understand that we really need to be putting in daily incremental efforts to make sure we are building it up every day. And eventually when you know, maybe 5 years down the line, when you look at the efforts you've put in, you realize, oh my God, that was exemplary. That was miraculous. So, a simple message for all of us, let's understand that your small steps will make a huge difference in the long run. And that's my invitation to all of you today. You know, we can't really expect overnight success. We can't expect you to really bounce back after a setback, maybe in a day or two. What you really need is, with the dedication you have, the devotion you have, the efforts you're putting in every single day, which will eventually manifest your celebration for life. So let's understand that consistency is the mother of mastery, and we all need to pull up our socks right now. The school kids, the college kids, the professionals, all of us here. Let's understand the idea behind consistency, consistent efforts, and that's eventually synonymous to your victory in life. Thank you.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Thank you so much.
So, as you said, consistency, absolutely. Change is constant, but consistency is the key. That is what we follow, and that is how we go forward.
So true.
So, to wrap up today's session, I would like to ask the audience if somebody has a question for ma'am, please.
Please.
First of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I know Saima ma'am, it's been more than 12 years.
Oh,
yeah, when she was in college. You were doing English literature from Hislop.
Okay,
So I just came to meet her, okay?
Oh, nice.
Thank you so much. I'm also an English coach on the national level. I basically train the beginners, those who are from Urdu medium and Hindi medium. I'm also an Urdu medium student from 1st to 12th standard. My question is, I am very much admired from you since my college time, okay? So I want to know 2 questions I have. The first question is, how can one monetize the public speaking as a career? And second thing, how did you monetize it? That's what my 2 questions are. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's interesting.
He's asking about your business.
All right. Thank you so much. What's your name? Mohsin. All right, lovely. Nice to meet you, Mohsin. So I would say one of the best ways to monetize your skills. So we all know, I mean, these days we know exactly the advent of social media. We've seen people dramatically changing their lives with the way they've monetized the social media. I would say one thing we can do as beginners right now, if you're somebody who's aspiring to make it big as a career, as a coach, as a trainer, as a public speaker. Number 1, like I said, making sure you're a master of your craft and you're building your credibility. So you're building your credibility. You know exactly who your target audience is. And number two, you're networking with the right people. You're trying to reach out to people, attend conferences, attend networking events that give you a chance to meet the right people, get the right mentors, mentor the right people. The third thing I would say, please make sure that you are able to connect with your audience online. You're able to give them quality content. Right? So for me, I think it was a very, very spontaneous moment when I got a message about monetizing from Instagram. And I didn't really know the know-how, but somehow right now at this junction, I feel if you're somebody who's able to provide your audience with the quality content, you know exactly what your audience wants, you're able to understand their needs, NEEDS. So N here for necessity, E for expectation. All right. E again is, like we discussed earlier, your enthusiasm for reaching out to people and coaching and training them. And D here for demographics. Understanding exactly your audience and providing them with the quality content can actually help you. And this would be, I would say, a tedious journey. Right? So it might take you 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. But like we've mentioned earlier, consistency is the DNA, right? So we can discuss this at length later as well, Mr. Mohsen, and because I think we have another session lined up right now. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate your gusto and enthusiasm. Thank you so much for being here, and we hope the session was of value to you. Thanks a lot.